Welcome. I'm so excited to introduce to you our guest star today, Miss Beth Strathman. Beth, why don't you take it from here?
Hi, everyone. Beth Strathman here, coming to you from Salt Lake City, Utah. Just going to share a little bit about me today. Wanted to talk to you about an experience I had actually traveling back in time. Now, not really, because we know that time travel doesn't really happen, but about 20 years ago or so, I had moved to Utah to go to school, and after graduating, I was entering the workforce here. And I swear, in my first couple of jobs that I got here, this was in the late 90s or so, I swear I traveled back in time. I went to work in male dominated industries here in the Salt Lake Valley. And it was like going back to 1950. Now, you don't know me, you're going to get to know me a little bit better, but I am a fairly assertive woman. And in both of these organizations, I was one of maybe up to 1,000 employees, anywhere from 750 to 1,000 employees. And in that 750 to 1,000 employees, particularly in one organization I worked for, there were only about 10 women. And of those 10 women, I was the only woman in management. So the odds were very male versus female. And it was a very interesting dynamic for me because being a strong woman, and I'd had a career before I moved to Utah in a non-male dominated industry, and had no problems. I'd moved out here from the Midwest. I was in the Kansas City area, and had no problems in the workplace before I moved out here and went into male dominated industries. So here I was, this fairly assertive woman who likes to get things done. I went into particularly one of these organizations and really wanted to, saw the need to beef up. At the time I was an HR director, so beef up their HR functionality. And so I go in and I see all these opportunities for how I can jump in, roll up my sleeves, and really bring something to their HR department. But what I didn't think of at the time, and I was a lot younger than I am now, was that, people don't really like you jumping in and messing with their stuff, when you're the new person on the block. And added to this was the dynamic that I was representing every woman in the world to this collection of gentlemen that I worked with. And don't get me wrong, they were great guys. They were like my brothers. But I was like, everything I did or didn't do was compared to what their idea of a woman was in the workplace and what I should and shouldn't be doing. Actually, in this one organization, the CEO even had told me sort of their company story, which included a little bit about how we never wanted to hire women. We went a long time. We just, how women are. We didn't want to work with women. But the guys needed help with their paperwork. So we finally broke down and hired some women to come in and be their administrative assistants. So that told me a lot. One thing I wanted to say to the CEO was, please don't tell that story to anyone else. But also it told me that they saw me as just a girl in the office who was going to do a lot of paperwork pushing. And so, it was very frustrating to me. A lot of times I wouldn't be invited into meetings where they were doing things that were relevant to human resources, like a lot of hiring or maybe layoffs, anything that was, to do with workforce planning, et cetera. And, I worked for this organization for about 4 or 5 years. And, enjoyed it. But at some point, I felt like I was always banging my head against the wall because my own stuff was that I wanted to get in there, like I said, roll up my sleeves and really get some things done. And so I stepped on some toes. And I'm not, I'm a nice person. I'm a fun person. But, I'll fight along with everybody else for what I think is right. And I don't have any problem going toe to toe with people. And again, that didn't really measure up to the way these gentlemen saw the way that most women should behave. Now, okay, I got to own that a lot of it was my own reactive stuff that I have learned over the course of 20, 25 years, how to, sand those rough edges down a little bit, and to really work and cooperate with people. But at the time, I was just, all I could see was what I could see and what I wanted to make happen. And so, I went on to another organization, spent a long time there, and, I've just continued to work throughout the course of my career thus far, um, really kind of honing my own stuff, but also working through human resources and also learning how to work with managers and leaders to help them get through and navigate some of these things that I've experienced throughout my career. And so now I work with women in leadership, particularly women, who want to have more positive impact in their organizations by gaining greater focus, composure, and having better influence with their teams. And, what I have learned is that a lot of times when you go into a situation, and this is what I help my clients out with on the composure piece, is to really know what your triggers are, those things that really get you, that really set you off and send you into that reptilian brain, that critter brain where you're in fight, flight, freeze, or appease mode, and really know what those things are and be able to better center yourself and not get into that reactive place so that you can stay focused and creative and strategic with people instead of getting into this emotional place that you don't want to be in, where you're not going to be productive. Also helping them with focus so that they know what to focus on to really have the most impact in their organization as far as what's on their plate. And as part of that, for women in particular, is helping them with their boundaries, what they say yes to, what they say no to, and how they manage the time that they spend at home and at work, and making sure that it's quality time in both places. And then finally, having that influence with your colleagues and your direct reports so that people understand who you are, you're authentic with them, you don't necessarily beat around the bush, you can still be direct and assert what you want, but you can do it in a way that other people can hear you, and that where you can really influence the way you work together in a positive way. All of this is kind of interesting because I started out my career, I said earlier that I came from the Kansas City area, and I graduated from the University of Kansas with a degree in elementary education, and I taught elementary school in that area outside of Kansas City for about 10 years before I came out here to Utah. And as I like to say, that helped me a lot when I went into human resources, because everyone's a child when they don't get their way in the workplace. And so my human resources experience kind of dovetails with my teaching experience from a long time ago when I worked with upper elementary students, managed a classroom and that kind of thing. I did also get, the reason I came to Utah is I decided I didn't want to be a teacher for the rest of my life. So I wanted to get a graduate degree so I could transition into business, and thought, gee, if I'm going to change my career, I might as well change where I live. So once I decided to get a law degree, I ended up out here at the University of Utah to get my JD. And so that was a great experience, even though I decided not to practice law. I am a licensed attorney here in Utah, but I've never practiced. But it was a great experience in really helping to hone my thinking and strategic skills. So I think that really helped me out a lot. And so I ended up in human resources because 6 months of, before I graduated from law school, I was thinking, I don't think I really want to practice, but here I've been clerking for a person who does employment law here in the Salt Lake Valley. And so how am I going to take what I learned being an elementary education major and then teacher, and pair that with my law degree? How is that going to come together? And I just thought, how do you take elementary ed and law? Human resources. So that's how I got into the human resources field, stayed there for 17 years before now starting my coaching practice about 5 years ago. And as I said before, working with women in leadership so that they're more impactful. So, I love working with people. You can see that people development has been a part of my career from the time I started teaching elementary school till now. I love being part of people's, realizing things about themselves, learning new skills, and really having, more impact and greater success in their lives and in their careers. So, that's a little bit about me. And what I wanted to do here today is also offer you, I have a free conversation planner. A lot of times my clients and people I've worked with have a hard time figuring out how to say the tough things that they need to say, or at least how to get started with the conversation. So I created this conversation planner that helps people kind of get over that initial speed bump of what are the first words that are going to be out of my mouth? Why am I going into this conversation, etc. So you can get this conversation free to you, my gift to you. It's at leadlikenobodiesbusiness.com/get-conversation-planner. That's leadlikenobodiesbusiness.com/get-conversation-planner. So sign up to get that. And I hope to be able to interact with you, or, come speak at an organization that you belong to. Love to get out there and meet new people. Thanks so much.